Hey there. So today I'm going to do a 30-minute silent meditation. Join me if you want. After the meditation, I am going to go through the hindrances that arose during my meditation. And basically, hindrances are the 5 hindrances from Buddhism. And these are basically 5 things that your mind generates that aren't actually real, and they are basically generated from your ego and identity and shadows and whatnot that make you feel certain things. So the 5 hindrances are anxiety, fear, desire, laziness, and ill will or anger. So I'll go through those 5 things that popped up for me during the meditation and connect them to my shadows. So join me in this silent meditation if you want, and then I'll do the commentary, and I think it'd be interesting for you to see the things that arose. So I'll set a timer there for 30 minutes. And let's kick off. Hey there. That was the end of the 30-minute silent meditation. I will now go through a commentary of the hindrances that arose within my meditation and give you some practical insights and tips. So just to do sort of like an overview of why we're doing this. So a lot of the thoughts, emotions, feelings that arise during your meditation, they are essentially generated by your mind. And a lot of those are either a hindrance or from your ego or generated from your identity. But a lot of those things are basically generated by your mind, and what tends to happen is because you're always thinking of those things, you tend to associate your own self-worth with those things. And that may be good, that may be bad, but what I'm here to tell you is that your self-worth is so much more than those things. And also those things don't determine your self-worth. Your self-worth is infinite, essentially. So, for example, let's say you always think or you're always worried about a particular thing in your job, for example. And during your meditation or during just daily life, you're always worrying about your job. And because you're always worrying about it, you may identify yourself to those thoughts, and you may think that your self-worth is lower because you're always worrying and and you feel inadequate and you're not doing this thing right at work, and you feel like your self-worth is lower because you're always thinking those thoughts, right? But actually it's not. Those thoughts are just tools. Your mind is just a tool. They're not actually real, though. They're just things that try to help you be in this world and survive in this world, but it has nothing to do with your self-worth. So that's why I meditate. It helps me put things into perspective. It helps me find my core. It helps me find those hindrances, those things that arise in my mind that aren't actually real. It helps me detach. It helps me find my shadows, which has been really useful. And although the point of Buddhism and meditation is not, you're not actually supposed to be meditating for you're not supposed to be using your insights for improving your life. It's more for, you can, but that's not the point of Buddhism. But I guess that's a whole nother discussion, but I'll leave that there. But essentially it's practical, right? The insights you get from meditation. So I use meditation for that. And then also it helps to find the hindrances. So those 5 things I talked about, anxiety, fear, anger, desire, and kind of laziness. There's only 5 things that are hindrances. And these things are the 5 things that your mind generates based on your ego and identity. And these things are connected to your shadows. And your shadows are, if you don't know what shadows are, your shadow is essentially parts of your identity that you repress, ignore, or are not even aware of. And they essentially determine your behavior without you even knowing it. So it could be good, it could be bad. They're not inherently bad, but when your shadows are very heavy and dark and you're not aware of them, they could be damaging. An analogy I like to use is the story of Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. So Dr. Jekyll is, the doctor. He's a human being. He's like a nice guy. And then Hyde is this monster that comes out. So the Hyde character there is your shadow. And when your shadow is dark and heavy, it comes out in ways that can be damaging, like a monster. But your shadows aren't inherently bad. They're just there because of some experience you had in your childhood or previous experience, and it created that shadow. But your shadow is essentially, it's trying to protect you from further emotional pain. And it does that through putting sort of thoughts in your head, like the hindrances. And they're not inherently bad, they're just there to protect you. So that's why I'm doing this commentary. So I'll take you through the commentary now. So the very first thing that I felt was desire. So my desire for comfort. So my back was hurting, and there's no real shadow connected with that. It's just more of a human being thing. I desire comfort as a human being. And throughout the meditation, I did move around a little bit. I actually shifted my weight a bit so it is more comfortable. But throughout the meditation, I then found that other parts of my body were not comfortable. So I was uncomfortable with my lower back, and then I moved, and then my upper back was uncomfortable. So the practical tip with that, the practical insight that comes out of that is essentially you can never fulfill your desires. It's like trying to fill a cup with a hole at the bottom. It's just never going to. You're never going to fulfill your desires. An analogy I like to use is food. So, you can eat an ice cream today, you fulfill that desire, but then you want another ice cream. And you're basically, you can never win. You're always going to want an ice cream. Or with money as well. If your whole purpose in life is just to make money, you're never going to win. Like you could always want more money. You could always, do more. You always want more. So, or status, or you want the latest car, or you want the latest thing, or you want to hang around cool people or whatever. You could always want more. Or you want this person to praise you, or you want validation from this person, or you want to go out with this guy or this girl because you think it would complete you. And it's just never ending, but it's just never ending. And the practical tip with that is to recognize that it's never ending. You're playing a losing game. You can never win at it. And basically the insight there is to realize that you're already whole without that. You don't need that to complete you. You're already complete. It's just that your mind generates desire because maybe in the past you experienced something that told you it was valuable to desire these things. to desire money. Maybe you grew up in a rich household and you learned that money means success. It means you're valuable. You have self-worth as a person. But it's never ending. You can never win. It's just an ongoing cycle. So that's the practical tip with that. Second thing that I felt was, again, the desire. So obviously I'm topless on this camera, yeah. And my desire with that was that, I wonder if people would like my body. And the desire with that is the external validation from people. I want to feel validated by people. And the shadow that is connected with that is my shadow of inadequacy. Like I feel like I'm not enough. And that is tied to some experience that I had when I was growing up. When I was growing up, I went to a very sort of like a privileged school, an international school. And my family's not rich in any way, but they managed to send me to that school. And my dad used to drive this beat up small car. And I would get dropped off at school, and I would see my friends, other kids at school being dropped off in their cars, and their cars were nice cars, like really nice cars. And so I became insecure about that. And that experience really created this shadow of low self-worth, low self-esteem, inadequacy. And so now when I'm older, that shadow comes out, right? It tries to secure validation from people in these material things. I have a desire to secure social validation from people with material surface level things like this, right? So through meditation, I've realized that. And the practical tip is that, again, my self-worth is not based on that. I don't need that. It's just a thought that occurs in my mind. But I can get validation from people, but my self-worth is not tied to that. I don't need that. It's just a thought that comes, right? It comes and goes, and so but there are people who tie their self-worth to that, right? I'm sure people who are very materialistic, who if I'm not flying business class, if I'm not making X amount of money, if I don't drive this car, if my house doesn't look good, I need like designer clothes and like luxury brands and whatnot. There are people like that who tie their self-worth to appearance, right? But it's great. That's great if they want to do that. But I hope that they know that their self-worth is not tied to that. And sure, you can buy luxury bags and whatnot, but just know it's not going to make you whole. It's just playing the game, right? The game of life is just it doesn't mean anything, actually. So that's the second thing I felt. There's quite a lot that I felt, actually. I'm not sure if I'm able to cover all of it. I can't actually remember all of it, but I'll try to anyway. The third thing I felt was, how is this channel going to perform? Like, is this even interesting? Is this useful for people? Can I monetize it? How am I you know, how am I, can I make this a full-time thing one day? And that is basically, there's two hindrances with that. One is fear. So I'm fearful that it's not going to work out. The second hindrance, that is anxiety, like I'm constantly thinking about it, I'm worrying about it. And those two hindrances, you know, while they're useful, yeah, I should pay attention to them. Yeah, maybe I should try different things with the channel and you know, and optimize it and whatnot. It doesn't reflect anything on my self-worth. Even if this channel doesn't work out, I'm still me, you know? You know, even if I don't make money from it, it's still me. Like, that has nothing to do with my self-worth. It's just I put importance on it because of how I grew up. Again, it's my shadow, like from when I grew up. I didn't grow up in a, like, I wouldn't say my dad was financially successful or whatever, or my mum as well. And, you know, even though they did, you know, I thank them and they did a great job raising me, I always compare myself to people around me who had more money, and, you know, they just had more stuff. And, you know, growing up in my family, money was an issue. It was probably, I think, the reason why my parents broke up. So that has created this thing in me where I put a lot of value on trying to make money and stuff like that. And so how it expresses, how it comes up in my mind is these two hindrances. Basically, it's like, yeah, I'm fearful about this, whether this channel would work out and stuff, and I try to optimize it and whatnot. And I can do that. There's no problem with that. It's not like it's bad or anything, but I have to, you know, I realize that it's nothing to do with my self-worth. It's just playing the game. Again, it's just, I'm just playing the game. But if it doesn't work out, I shouldn't be sad about it. You know, it's, you know, I tried a thing. Yeah, it didn't work out. It's unfortunate, but, you know, I just move on, right? So that's the practical tip of that. I guess my main message for this video is that you can have these desires and you can play the game. Yeah, there's nothing wrong wanting more money and and wanting nice things and you know, worrying about how things go and you know, you're always constantly feeling like you're behind, or you're always constantly trying to get ahead. There's nothing wrong with feeling that, but those are just, it's just your mind. It's just the tools in your mind. It's nothing to do with your self-worth. Don't think that you're less of a person because you don't have those things, or you're always worrying about how work is going, or you're like always worrying about this or whatever. And don't think that your self-worth is less because you're always thinking of that. It's not. It's not. It's nothing to do with your self-worth. It's just you attach such high value to it because of something happened to you in the past, or your experience in the past. But it's nothing to do with your self-worth. Trust me, it's you're worth way more than anything like that. You are everything. You are the universe. You're so much more than what you could possibly imagine. So yeah, so I think that's a good note to end this video on. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll catch you next time.